We want to begin by thanking all the country collaborators and the technical and editorial team that have made it possible for us to be here today. Just 3 hours ago, the second Global Interference Index was presented, and today we have the honor of presenting for the first time the Spanish version for Latin America. This is a civil society report on how countries are implementing Article 5.3 presented by Dr. Blanco. This gives us an idea of how the industry has access to the different sectors of government, but it also highlights the good actions taken by governments. How does this index work? The lower the score, the better the ranking. The main areas that were evaluated were two, at the governance level and at the industry regulation level. This includes industry interference in the development of tobacco control policies, interaction with the tobacco industry, conflicts of interest, preventive measures, corporate social responsibility activities, benefits to the industry, and transparency. Based on this, the countries in green have the best level of implementation of policies to protect themselves from industry interference at a global and regional level. And the countries with the highest interference scores are in red. In other words, in our region, we have examples to follow, and we can also see some of the strategies that the industry is using. Tobacco industry blocks or delays government efforts to develop and implement tobacco control policies, such as comprehensive laws in Colombia, tax increases in Brazil, Colombia, and Argentina, regulation of illicit trade in Ecuador, or prohibitions or restrictions about new tobacco products in most of the countries. Regarding the conflict of interest, in some countries such as Uruguay, Peru, and Costa Rica, contributions to political parties or campaigns are prohibited. However, in other countries, contributions are not prohibited, nor is a declaration of these required. So it leaves a door open for the industry to collect favors when they need it. Regarding the regulation of the tobacco industry, it was observed that countries had less interference when they were transparent in their relations with the industry. This includes registered interactions and political donations. Regarding benefits to the industry, it was observed that tax exemptions benefited the industry in many countries. Incentives, tax breaks, tax cuts, and duty-free tobacco in free trade zones boost production and sales, which benefits the industry. The results show that countries are using the tools of the FCTC and its guidelines for Article 5.3. But commitment is still required from all the sectors in a government. I give the floor to my colleague Daniel to share with us what governments can do to protect themselves. Go ahead, Daniel.
Thank you, Laura. Without doubt, the elaboration of this regional index on tobacco industry interference was a quite interesting exercise. It allowed us to give us an overview of what's the state of the art of the implementation of the policies in the countries and compared to the policy from 2007 and 2019. As mentioned to Laura, the interference is latent. It's very present, but there are some devices and tools and instruments. And next panelists will also share reflections on the tools and towards where we should go to shield ourselves on the interference of tobacco industry. I would like to identify a few points of the lines of strategies that the states can adopt in order to confront the strategy of tobacco industry. At the level of communication, it's fundamental to work on sensibilization, awareness, in order that that policies towards tobacco go further than just health policies. It also relates to governance and the relation and regulation of government. States must prioritize uh, to reject all alliances with the tobacco industry and limit all interaction with that industry, unless or have a relation that are really strictly needed for the implementation of the Article 5.3. Also, we need to strengthen the code of conduct. Sometimes there are none, or sometimes are not being implemented or weak. And finally, the issue of regulation of the tobacco industry, without doubt, we need to advance on the issue of information that we request to the industry with valid information that is true, evidenced, in order to denormalize all their corporate social responsibility campaigns that the tobacco industry is leading. Of course, it's an issue of debate, but the industry is using this mechanism, as it is shown by the report, to have an incident and interfere in the development of policy at the health public policy level. And this is observed in all countries. This being said, there's no perfect recipe, and we call for the commitment of all actors, of government agencies, also with the civil society and multilateral agencies, and all actors that can be included in the agenda to fight against the tobacco control policies. Like was saying the Dr. Tavares Vasquez, it is possible. When we've systemized all the information of all 9 countries, thanks to the effort they've deployed in their countries, it's important now to give a consistent and permanent monitor how is developing itself and what are the strategies of the tobacco industry. And we need to do much more. We also need to strengthen the national and regional and international uh, strategies and convergence on the policies of taxes, of marketing and sponsorship, on corporate social responsibility. An issue that is key is to establish alliances with other agendas, like the agenda of human rights, that covers a universe that is very key, and we need to work hand in hand on with human rights defenders. So the last 3 challenges. One is to protect the policies and activities of tobacco control against all business interests that the industry is realizing to promote new tobacco products, emerging tobacco products. Uh, we have launched also a report which was trying to unmask the activities of the industry, how the industry has reinforced and strengthened its tactics during the pandemic, thanks to a group in an alley in Mexico. In Argentina, as you know, Argentina is not a party of the Framework Convention. We hope that this webinar, Argentina, and call upon Argentina to strengthen their commitments. Of course, Argentina has been implementing, thanks to the support of civil society. We aligned with the Article 5.3 and the implementation of Framework Convention, but still, there's more that can be done. And finally, the ratification of the protocol for the elimination of illicit commerce of tobacco products, we need more countries to ratify this protocol because the interference of the tobacco industry has been centered, has been focusing to use the arguments of illicit trade to access to legislators and to strengthen the lobby activities and affecting and interfering in the development of public policies. I will end my intervention to repeating my acknowledgements and thank yous for inviting us. And we hope that discussion will be rich, and we call everyone for in strengthening the implementation of the framework convention on tobacco control. Thanks